So I'm going to talk about karma today. I thought karma would be a good topic, and there's three aspects that are important when I talk about karma. And the first aspect applies to everybody, and the second two apply to Buddhists and Hindus. Yeah, I think Buddhists and Hindus. Buddhists for sure. Okay, so I just posted a letter on my Facebook page this morning, and it had to do with a fellow in New Jersey who stole a bottle of ketchup from Perkins, which is a restaurant. And the next day, somebody hit his car. And then something else happened, and then something else happened, and he realized because he had stole that ketchup, he had messed up his karma. So he wrote a nice letter to Perkins and bought 2 new bottles of ketchup and dropped them off, hoping that his good merit from the 2 bottles of ketchup would balance out the demerit from stealing the ketchup in the first place. So karma is cause and effect, but for Buddhists, karma is cause, not effect. So we have karma, vipaka, cause, consequence, cause, effect. And our karma is something that is generated by what we think, say, and do. So we are all transformers, if you will. We are taking a neutral energy that's out there everywhere, and we're transforming it and giving it a moral value. Skillful, unskillful, good, bad. Now, oftentimes when we're speaking and acting, we're not really concerned too much about the outcome until it's really a negative outcome. But when we're thinking, it's almost like it doesn't count because it's always in our head. And if you look at karma as having a particular value, the thought karma is the least important, the speech karma is the next important, and the action karma is the most important. So before we turn our thoughts into speech, we need to reflect and say to ourselves, am I going to be creating good karma? Am I going to be creating and transforming energy in a skillful way, or will it turn out to be an unskillful way? Now, we all know that we can tell how good our karma was by the effect that it caused. So if we wait long enough to see the consequences of what we say and do, we will understand skillful or unskillful. But it's sort of after the fact. And would there be a better way to do it? Would there be a way immediately to know with what you're saying and doing is going to be skillful? And as it turns out, there is. And what we need to do is we need to meditate. And we need to watch our minds. And we need to look out very carefully for the 3 poisons. And the 3 poisons are greed, hatred, and delusion. And if that is the intention behind your speech and action, chances are that we will have uncomfortable consequences. But on the other hand, if you have the intention of generosity, compassion, or it's rooted in wisdom, chances are it'll be a pleasant outcome. So we have skillful and unskillful. We have more suffering and we have less suffering. So as a Buddhist, we really don't take the world and say, okay, good and bad, white hat and black hat. We don't really go there because there's too much gray. So what we would do is we'd say, is it skillful? Is what I'm saying and doing skillful? Not good, but skillful. And in thinking about good, what I came up with was this. Good is arbitrary, because certain things are good at certain times and not so good at other times. So back in the 70s, to save gas, everybody was driving at 55. Driving at 55 was good because you were saving gas. In 2019, driving at 55 is bad because people are angry with you and they want to run you off the road. So we have this sort of good and bad dichotomy that's arbitrary and depends on time and space. Where is it? What time is it? What's appropriate now in this present moment? And as you get older and you start to see the years pass by, 40, 50, 60, 70, you start to realize you've been through a lot of paradigm shifts. A lot of things have changed in your lifetime, and you are not living in the same world you were living in 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's really sort of, I don't want to say depressing, but sort of sad. In 1969, I moved to Los Angeles. It was actually in July of 1969. So I just had my 50-year anniversary in Los Angeles. And I was thinking back to when I first got here and ended up on Sunset Boulevard, walking down the street, and all the hippies and the Doors were playing at the Troubadour or something, and it was just, there was so much excitement. All these pioneers were walking around dropping acid, wondering what would happen to their consciousness. You know, they didn't have the kids yet, or the family yet, or the job yet, and it was just sort of a special, magical time. Then they got kids, then they got wives, then they got jobs, and now you walk down Sunset Boulevard and everything's closed, you know? Everything's changed, and the buildings are being torn down and replaced by other buildings, and businesses have come and gone, and I can't tell you how many restaurants that I used to go to no longer exist. I mean, what happens, you know, even Norm's, Santa Monica. You would think they would never take Norm's away, because it was always busy when I went there, and all the people eating there sort of looked like me. It was 3 o'clock, we were all having dinner, you know, and we all had gray hair, and it was just okay. And now it's gone. So when we think about our karma, we need to reflect on time and place. What's appropriate? What should I be aware of? What should I take into consideration before I say what I'm about to say or do what I'm about to do? So we go and we look at our mind and we go, wow, there it is. Greed, hatred, delusion. Okay, what is this thought based in? Is it based in greed? Is it about me? Do I want more? Do I want control? You know? Or is it based in generosity? Is it based in hatred and anger, or is it based in compassion and kindness? How can I decipher all these little intentions? We do that in meditation. We sit quietly for hours at a time, just watching mind come and go, think and not think, create. And then we start to say to ourselves, yeah, okay, that's not a good thought. I'm going to have to wait until it goes away. And thankfully, they all go away. Every thought you've ever had has gone away, replaced by a new one. Sometimes better, sometimes worse, oftentimes by nothing related to the previous thought. It's just thinking. You know, and so we go through our life and we're just thinking, and then we start to say, well, I'm going to share some of this thinking with the world, so I'm going to talk. And that's when you finally realize that not everybody is on the same page. And not everybody is going to think what you're thinking and appreciate the subtleties of your thought process. Because it's very personal to all of us what we think. Is it good? Do I want 2 dips of ice cream instead of 1? Would that be greed? That would be greed. Especially at a certain age, that's very much greed. Would 1 suffice? 1 would be perfect. But no, we want 2, and we want Hershey syrup also. So all of a sudden, greed starts building this want and this desire and this need. You know, and there you are, saying, I'm driven by this, I've got to do it. But do we have to do it? Do we have enough personal discipline to simply wait it out? Wait for it to turn into something else? You know, and that comes again with the meditation practice that some of us do, that we sit quietly thinking and not acting. We just let it arise, exist, and pass away. And we get an idea of how it feels not to act on everything you think, not to speak on everything you think. We simply allow it to happen and allow it to fade away. So when we go into a situation, a lot of situations can go south quickly. And a few wrong words or a few wrong actions can ruin your day, week, or month. And if only you had taken a breath or two before you had spoken or acted, things would be so much different. Karma. Is karma our friend or is karma our foe? It's up to us to decide which it's going to be. I like karma because karma does not hold a grudge. Karma does not want to make my life worse. Karma is not trying to penalize me for anything. It's like gravity. Gravity could care less if you fall or stand. And that's what I enjoy about karma. Now, the second aspect of karma that I want to talk about is how karma takes the place of God. Da-da-da! And why would I say it in that way? Because we don't have a divine lawgiver. We have no superpower or external agent that decides for us what is right and what is wrong. We have karma instead. It decides for us what is skillful and unskillful. It decides for us how much we're going to suffer or not suffer. I really like that idea because I never looked at karma as wanting to do me in. I look at karma as just there to remind me what skillful and unskillful is all about. And if I'm having a bad day, a really bad day, it probably has a lot to do with me. And if that's the case, I need to sort of wake up and look around and see what I'm thinking, what I'm saying, what I'm doing, and how it's affecting people and situations, and myself in particular. So, a few months ago, and I know Reverend Shraddha also, we went down and we got our California ID, the real ID. And so I shared with Reverend Shraddha what I decided to do. I decided to go to Culver City, because it's a smaller DMV. And I called up and made an appointment because that's what they said to do. And when I went there, there were 3 people in the appointment line and 50 people in the non-appointment line. And I thought to myself, hey, this might work out. And I had all the proper ID, and I went up, and everybody was really pleasant. I was expecting just terrible people, but they were all very pleasant and helpful. And then I took my driving test, my written driving test, and I failed because I hadn't taken it in 10 years. I thought I knew, but I missed some really dumb things, of course, and so the woman said, well, you know, you get to take 2 more today, so why don't you just sit down and think about it, and think about the ones that you missed, and then do it again. And she said to me, I know you can do it. And I did it. I passed. I only missed 1 the second time. And I felt so proud of myself. And now I'm the proud owner of a California Real ID. And when it was time for my picture, I stood there and had it taken, and it turned out terrible. I said, do you guys have Photoshop or anything? Can you just make me look a little bit better? And you know what the guy said to me? He said, sir, this is the real you. And I went, no. So now the real ID has a real me in a picture. So was my karma good? I think my karma was pretty good in this whole situation because of what I was saying and what I was doing, and I was in the flow of the DMV. And I was just sort of roll over here and roll over there, and I didn't feel resentment. It just sort of all worked out. And we all know that it's going to be okay if we get into the flow. And so the second aspect is that rather than God, we are non-theistic as Buddhists. Now, we need to clarify this. What is a non-theist? A non-theist is someone who doesn't have God at the head of their religion, but doesn't deny God either. And if you read the ancient Buddhist texts, the Buddha believed in the gods, small g, of India. In fact, he went so far as to teach the gods of India how to be better gods. Now, I thought that is cool, that the Buddha was teaching the gods. Now we have the one God of the desert, but you know what? The Buddha never went any further than 300 miles from his birthplace. He never met anybody who believed in the one God of the desert. So he didn't know that concept at all. He knew the concept of the hierarchy of gods of India. And he realized they were all imperfect. Okay, so as a Buddhist, when we change our life, we don't petition God to interact with us and change it. What we do is we change it by what we think, what we say, and what we do. And that would be our karma. That would be our friend. Our friend karma is helping us have a better life, because in each and every moment we find ourselves in, we are trying and ultimately will be more perfect in what we think, say, and do. So that's aspect number 2. First of all, karma. We're transformers. We're changing the energy, skillful, unskillful. Number 2, it defines for us how to be skillful and unskillful by how much we suffer or don't suffer. And number 3, which is the hardest one for a non-Buddhist to really grasp and hold on to, is the fact that when we die, nothing travels to the next lifetime except our karma. It migrates lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. So, how does that work? Well, if we're transforming all this energy, and we have skillful energy and unskillful energy, imagine a little boat with a motor and it has a wake behind it. And now you die, and the little boat sinks. But the wake continues and hooks up with the next boat, the next person we will be. But it won't be us. Unfortunately, we don't get to go. It ends. But if you think about it clearly, every moment we don't get to go. Somebody else takes our place in every moment, in every hour, in every day. There's enough similarities between all these strangers and other people to let people think that it's really us. But it's not. You don't want to tell them it's not you, because they're going to freak out. But it's somebody who's taking your place. You're in this race, and you have this baton, and you keep handing it off to the next person. And some of those people you hand the baton off of your life, they're really good runners, and they run fast, and you have a great second leg of the relay. And then you hand it off again, and the guy's sort of a jerk. He doesn't want to do anything. And so now your life sort of takes a dip. You go, oh man, we were doing so good. We could have won the race. But this guy, and then he gets to hand it off again, and that guy might be the best guy at all. And now the race is on again, and we have a wonderful life. And finally, the last relay guy, he dies. Dead right on the track. And you go, oh man. But the baton keeps going into the next lifetime, into the next person, and you pick it up. So, what does that mean? It means that sometimes we're born in Phoenix, Arizona, and sometimes we're born in Palos Verdes. Now, I don't know which one you think might be the best, but I might go for Palos Verdes. You know, and I've lived in Phoenix, and I've been to Palos Verdes. I like Palos Verdes. So, what does that mean now? It means we had good karma in the past life. We did a lot of good things. Our karma account was full. You know? So, Does that mean the next life will be a wonderful life? Not if you don't work on it, because you'll just keep taking out, withdrawing from your karma account. And one day it'll be empty. And one day you're going to steal a bottle of ketchup and your life's going to turn to hell. So you got to put some more merit in the karma account. You got to think good thoughts, say good things, do good deeds. And in doing that, you're building your karma account. Not only will you have a better life this time, you'll have a better rebirth and life in the next time. So we as Buddhists have a whole lot of stuff to do. We can't just sit back and say a little prayer and hope it turns out well. We got to sit down and we got to meditate. We got to see how our brain works, what the thoughts are all about. Are they good or bad, skillful or unskillful? Then we have to monitor what we say and what we do every moment of the day. And it's tiring and it's difficult, and that's why people take naps. Because they're just tired of monitoring all day long. You know? And then you start to realize that everything you think, say, and do in this lifetime determines your next lifetime. And when you're 20, you don't care. And when you're 30, you don't care. And when you're 70, it makes a hell of a lot of sense. You're going to do good things now because they will pay off not too far in the future. So there you are. And now, as you lie on your deathbed, taking your last few breaths, if you're lucky enough to have a friend or family member or Buddhist monk, he's going to be there reminding you of all the good deeds you did during your life. All the things that made a difference in your life and the lives of others around you. Telling you about all the karma you have manifested. And it's in your karma account. And that last breath will be a breath of satisfaction, a life well lived, and a new life about to happen. And there's no fear. There's sort of excitement, because your body is old and crippled and decrepit and it hurts all the time. And now you get a brand new one. And it's going to be really good. And you can hardly wait. And then you die. So karma is really important. We need to think about it a lot. We need to appreciate what it can do and what it will do if we're unskillful, but what it will do if we are skillful. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Isaac, you get a question? Okay.
Thank you for your skillful Dharma talk today. I have two questions. Basically, one is concerning about what you already said. Depend upon what we need to grab, or in the next following life, the person will grab the baton based on what characteristic or condition of karma in the next life. And the second one, it's basically it's kind of naive.
I didn't understand the first one. What's the question?
It's concerning the example that you mentioned about that is raising.
But what's the question? What's the question?
The question is based upon what karma put you that you're gonna be the following runner who would gonna grab the baton.
Okay.
Based on what? And the other one is question kind of naive. I've been make it a couple of times, but I make it again because it's something that daily basis I work with it. It's about the insect. Initially, based on respect sentient beings, I used to avoid to kill any insect, that sometimes they are bothering. Later on, I asked to another monk that was making a Dhamma talk here, and it says that meanwhile it's making danger to your place, you have to understand that it's not bad you kill it as making a safe environment in your household. So with that understanding, I said, well, I have to kill them. I'll remove them. So I start putting poison, and now I don't think twice to remove and kill cockroaches or any insect that is bothering right there. But unconsciously, I discriminate with certain insects. I grab some crackers with my hand and throw it out. But cockroaches are just even babies. I kill them. So the question is, undoing karma on this, negative karma or bad karma on this? Just two questions.
Okay, just the two. Okay, the first one is, you don't know who it's going to be taking the baton. You don't know who you're going to be tomorrow. You know who you are right now, at least you think you do, but a lot of things could happen, and then you'll be different tomorrow. And there's no way to even know that that's going to happen or who you're going to be. So you just got to relax into this whole process. It's not an event. You don't suddenly become somebody and stay that person your whole life. You're always changing, always growing, and then you start to ungrow. You start to forget things and start to not remember things, and then, it gets worse and worse and worse. So the person that you were at 20 is not going to be a person at 50 or 70. So you just have to let that go and be who you are today. And be who you are right now, and not worry about the next person, because you're doing skillful things and the next person will be skillful because of that. Got it? Okay, the second thing is, anytime you intentionally kill something, you're creating karma. Anytime. So if you're walking down the street and you step on an ant and didn't see the ant and don't even know you did, no karma, according to Buddhism, has been created, because what's missing is intention. But when you have intention to kill, and then you devise a method, and then you follow through, and you are successful, then there is karma. It's not good karma, it's bad karma, because anytime you kill anything, it's bad karma. Okay, so if you kill the cockroach, you don't want to kill the cockroach out of anger and hatred. You want to kill the cockroach, and you want to wish it a good rebirth. Maybe come back as a butterfly. Because you don't kill butterflies, do you? There you go. So it'll be safe then, from you. So you like the beautiful, you don't like the ugly. Some insects are ugly, some are beautiful. And so it's interesting to see which ones you decide to kill and which ones you decide to let live or carry out of the house. You could carry the cockroaches out too. You can catch them. They're not that fast.
I do so.
And then you can put them outside. You don't have to kill them. But it's so much easier to kill them because it's so quick. You just bang and the problem's gone. But you catch it, you have to chase it, and you got to get a little container, and you hope it's not going to come back in, and then it does come back in, and now you give it a name, and you catch it again, you take it outside. You create a relationship. So the idea is to benefit life. The idea, when I feed the cats, or feed a possum, or feed a raccoon, benefit life. Now the raccoon likes to go in the koi pond and likes to go after the fish. So should I kill the raccoon because it likes to fish? Well, I decided to cover the koi pond so the raccoon can't get in there. That solves the problem, and nothing dies. But it takes time now every evening to cover the koi pond with wood and put bricks on there so it can't move it, to save the fish and to save the raccoon from killing the fish. And one day the raccoon will go away, and one day the fish will go away. But until that happens, I'm sort of in charge. It's a backyard environment, and I've been given the blessing of having to care for all this life. And they get fleas, and I put flea medicine on, so I kill the fleas. But I kill the fleas so the cats will be better. But I still get karma for killing the fleas. But if I do one good thing today, that'll balance out all the bad karma I get for killing the fleas. So it's sort of businessman's karma. Do some good to hedge your bets when you have to go kill fleas, And mosquitoes. Don't even want to talk about mosquitoes. But they don't live long if they're around me. And I just say, well, even the Dalai Lama kills mosquitoes because they malaria and all sorts of terrible diseases. And I'm trying to think, why were they even invented? Why were they even given birth on this planet, these mosquitoes? What good do they do? And I've asked many people, and nobody knows. So we need to kill them. But in doing that, we have to realize we're taking a life, even though it's a terrible life, and there is a karmic consequence for that. Even killing a mosquito, there's a karmic consequence. So it requires us to be present in the moment all the time and understand that not everything needs to die. And if we do need to kill it, we need to kill it not because of anger or hatred, but because it's serving a function that will benefit others who won't get bitten by the mosquito or won't have to kill the cockroach. And you're accepting the karma for killing the cockroach, so you're saving others from getting theirs. And there you go, Isaac.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. No.
Thank you for the karma subject. This is endless talk about karma thing. But based on the aspect, the question I want to ask you, and I know a lot of people wondering how we can transform from this life to another life based on the karma. Like after you die, and then based on the karma, bad karma, good karma, and you become another person or another animal. Do we have the soul to transform, or do we have anything to go? Because in Christian, we have the soul to go up or go down.
Right.
But in Buddhist, if we don't have no soul, so how can we transform from this life to another life?
Right. Okay. Well, if you want to be a human, you've taken a bodhisattva vow, and you want to be a human, that intention will give you a horizontal life. You go from one lifetime to the next, from man to man, woman to woman, man to woman, woman to man. There's this sort of like literal rebirth. And how does that happen? According to early Buddhism, it happens because karma is a gandhava. It's sort of a living, transforming thing. And when two humans are mating, it senses that mating is going on, and the gandhava is drawn to the activity. And in order for a human being to be born, according to Buddhism, you need a sperm, egg, and gandhava. And when those three things are present, life begins. So when does life begin for a Buddhist? It begins with conception. Okay. Now, there's heavens and there's hells. And I'd rather go to heaven after this lifetime, relax, enjoy the merit, and then be reborn again as a human. But to go from one human to the next human, man, it's a lot of work, you know, and there's no rest. But the heaven realms are really good, and our karma is what gets us there. We can't pray to the Buddha to put us in heaven. It doesn't work that way in Buddhism. There's only one exception, and Nam knows what that exception is. It's Pure Land and Amitabha Buddha, but that's a whole different talk. So, we go to heaven because of our karma account. We go to hell because of our lack of karma account. But in Buddhism, nothing is forever except one thing, and that is nirvana. So the ultimate goal of a Buddhist is to achieve nirvana. But until then, we're reborn in heaven realms, hell realms, human realms, animal realms, insect realms. We're born all over the place until finally we have a fortuitous rebirth as a human being, find the Dharma, we practice, we achieve our final perfection in nirvana, and then we never have to be reborn again because our karma has ended. Now that's an amazing event. That nirvana is often described as the end of suffering while you're alive, the end of karma, which means the end of all future rebirths. So you'll never have to suffer again in another rebirth. You'll never have to be reborn again. But you don't end your existence. Now you exist because of nirvana, not because of birth. And every time something is born, it has to die. But when you're born because of nirvana, there's no beginning and there's no end. There we go. Yes, sir. Let me get...
Thank you.
Yeah.
By the way. Is there a an unskillful side of karma. If your intentions or your actions are unskillful, something like defending yourself, or someone in your environment or something is being unskillful towards you.
Okay, I'm not hearing you very well. It's my ears, it's not you. If you could just speak up a little bit louder.
Yeah, better?
That'd be good, yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you.
So just you're in an environment somewhere, work, your home, your wherever.
Okay.
And someone is, or people or whatnot, are having maybe unskillful karma towards you.
Right.
And you practice skillful karmas time and time again, the best you can in that environment, until ultimately at some point you may feel like you have to practice unskillful just to have, say, people, person, or whatever, stop.
Yeah.
Is that seen as bad or unskillful karma for you as well, if your intentions are just to abolish the amount of mistreat you're getting? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I got it. And I would say you don't know until you see the consequences of what you've said. You know, it might be you just want to have peace. You don't want to have people arguing or philosophizing and telling, you know, you just come on, I can't take it anymore. And then all of a sudden it gets worse rather than better because you decided the right thing to do was to go in and make your thoughts known. And so we really don't know until it's too late in situations like that. You've often heard of something going on, somebody's being robbed on the street, and a good Samaritan sees it and goes and tries to get the bag back, and then he's killed. And he had some really good intentions. He wanted to save the handbag from the old lady and not have the old lady get any more injured than she already has been, and then he gets killed. And how do you put that into perspective, you know? I can't tell you how to put it into perspective, but I can tell you that, it's just a sad commentary when you try to do the right thing, in quotes, and it turns out to be worse rather than better. So sometimes we need to reflect on the situation and the people involved in the situation and run through a couple scenarios. Well, what if I do this? And what if I do that? And maybe I could say this, or maybe I could not say this, and then everything would be even better. And so now I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to hold my breath. I'm going to hope for the best. You go in there, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And then the next day you get fired. And you go, yeah. Well, I was just trying to do the right thing. So the right thing is arbitrary. The right thing is determined by situation and the people in it and the particular time it's happening, time frame. And we're not going to know if it's right or wrong until those things come together, and we're the instigator. We're the kindling for the fire. And then we stand back and go, wow, wrong thing to say. But that tells you something about the next time it comes up. Then maybe you could apply a different tactic to the situation, and that might even work better. A quick story about a guy's walking down the street, and this fellow watches him walk down the street, and all of a sudden the kid in front, half a block, picks up a rock and throws it through a window. And he goes, man, how could he do that? How could he go throw a rock through a window? And then the guy comes up a little closer, and he realizes that the apartment's on fire, and the person behind the window couldn't breathe, and he was throwing the rock through it so the air would come in, so the person could breathe. So it was actually a good thing to break the window, not a bad thing. And sometimes in any situation we find ourselves in, we don't have 100% of the information. We have 80%, we have 70%, we have 90%, and that's when we make our judgment, and that's when we get into the activity of trying to change it, or make it better, or make it less worse. And because we don't have all the information, it's a crapshoot. Now, even if for some reason you had all the information, 100%, in the very next moment, it would be different, because everything is in process, everything's always changing. So every time we do something, it's a gamble. But sometimes we've done it often enough, the gamble has played out to our favor, So we're willing to do it again. And sometimes we've done it often enough and it's never worked, so we resist doing it even one more time because it's failed 10 times in a row. And we don't know if the 11th time will be the time it works, but logically, we're a little hesitant to see. So that is what makes life so exciting and makes it so disappointing at the same time, that we never know from one moment to the next what we're saying and doing will be the right thing or the skillful thing. Until we're aware of our mind and seeing the greed, hatred, and delusion, or the generosity, compassion, and wisdom, and we have an idea now of what might make it better, if not perfect. That's a lot of answer for a short question. Thanks for asking. Hi.